Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hello and welcome to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Andy Radig, and I'm joined today by your City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Thanks for being here, Mark.
Great to be here, Andy.
All right, thank you. Today we'll talk about some topics relating to municipal news, and then we'll take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about some highlights from the agenda from the June 9th Common Council meeting. So we might as well dive right in here, Mark. We've got a lot to talk about today. First, some topics relating to COVID-19 and some items relating to that. City Hall opening is delayed until at least July.
Yeah, I'm not sure if everybody follows some of the statistics from the county health department, but our numbers are trending up faster than they ever have been. In fact, some of the statistics I saw is that the largest growing number of people are actually in the age 20 to 29, younger people. Mm-hmm. I have no idea if that has anything to do with Memorial Day weekend or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I know there's been some attention paid because all of the deaths have occurred in senior living facilities and things like that. So I think the belief is that it's all the senior community that's getting sick. That's not correct. And in fact, it's being carried by every age group, but 20 to 29 is growing. So that's a big concern. That means it's getting a little more community spread, and we have to be aware of those things. I'm really pleased with what our city staff has been able to do to try to make as many services as available as possible online through online forms, being able to fill out things, apply for things right online. Of course, our phones are staffed, our regular business hours. So we're able to do things that maybe we weren't able to do a year ago or maybe took for granted that we had. Now we're making very good use of them, and I think we're capable of providing services, good services to the public, even within these limitations. So I'm just going to ask people to just be a little more patient about that, because obviously our primary goal is to serve the public, and we know it's a little more inconvenient by not having City Hall offices open, but we're going to do everything we can to help.
Absolutely. And those services can be accessed on the city's website. At the very top of the screen, there's a tab that says Online Services, and so it's very easy to find at that location. And so things such as pet licenses are also available. You can get more information online there.
Yeah, and Andy, one of the other things that was unfortunate, but I think it was part of the reasons we decided to stay closed basically through the July 4th holiday, is we made the very difficult decision that we were going to cancel our July 4th events, including our July 4th parade, which is put on by our Veterans Council, as well as fireworks show that we've traditionally put on with Festival Foods. They've been a great partner. They certainly understand, and hopefully other people will understand it as well. I know that got a lot of attention on social media, but we're trying to create as much social distance as possible, and July 4th just lends itself to trying to be together, and we crowd together to get the best vantage point for fireworks. It really wasn't going to work well. So if we were doing all of that on those services, it just made sense to extend that to regular daily city services as well.
Okay, all right. And in the interest of not crowding together, there's a temporary use permit that's available for bars and restaurants.
We've been looking at multiple things we can do, so we're trying to consolidate them all so people are aware of all the things we did. Temporary use permits for bars and restaurants that are now open that want to practice greater social distancing. What we're allowing them to do is to use other areas that may not be currently permitted by their liquor license to be out in out in parking lots, maybe even in the right-of-way, sidewalk areas, like a sidewalk cafe type of thing. So we're trying to make those available, and we got a pretty good response to them, and we've turned those around. But if people still want to apply for them, just because they didn't do it the first week, they can still apply for those. So we want to encourage people to do that.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing that's similar topic is there are some loans available through the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have directed some funds from our tax increment districts, including tax increment districts that have closed, and those funds have been in what we call a revolving loan fund. And Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation administers that. And then Winnebago County has also set aside $750,000, of which $300,000 is reserved for loans to businesses within the city of Oshkosh. So we're pleased that Winnebago County has stepped up, and that's administered by the county. And the other one I previously mentioned is administered by Greater Oshkosh Economic Development.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and people can get more information about those at greateroshkosh.com. Also, some state funds are available to assist in preventing evictions.
Well, there's some through what the federal CARES program. What they've done is they've identified some funds at the state level that they received to trickle down to the local level, and these are something to help along with rents that may be behind, to avoid evictions. The program is administered at the local level by Advocat, which is a group, a nonprofit group that has a lot of programs to help with housing. So they're the local agency. We're working closely with them, and you can look at the Advocat website to get more information about that to see if you qualify. Right now, I think they're still working through some of the rules, so just be aware of that and take a look at their website, and they'll keep you posted when they have applications available.
Okay. And then still on the COVID-19 topic, there's currently a POCO survey available online that people can take a look at. And there's a question regarding how best the city can help low to moderate income households as a result of the impact of COVID-19. And that survey is open until June 10th. And there are some other questions there that are available for folks to answer. And to participate in that survey, folks can go to the city website and then from there click Services and then POCO.
And part of that reasoning was because the city council was concerned about making sure that we were meeting the needs of low and moderate income folks, many of whom have been left unemployed through this because they might be in the service industry, and those service industries were just shut down so big, so quickly. So we want to make sure. So we have the survey out there on POCO to get an idea about what the community feels, what kind of needs we have. So if you aren't already being part of the POCO surveys, just take a look at our website and go to POCO and sign up and be a regular participant, because we're always seeking input from people about what they think about issues facing our community. And these are some of the current topics, but you can participate in future surveys as well.
Right, absolutely. So, Mark, changing topics, complete swing in discussion here. The whole discussion regarding George Floyd. I know that there's been a lot of community discussion regarding the events that happened surrounding the death of Mr. George Floyd. And I know that we can't do justice to this topic in the time that we have here on the show, but what are you hearing from the community about this?
Well, this is a national issue. You know, Mr. Floyd was lost his life and at the hands of police officers in Minneapolis. And from my vantage point, that was absolutely a criminal act. And the unfortunate part of that is it's heightened fear and mistrust within our own community, and the concern they have for law enforcement, which I think is unfortunate and unfair, but very real to these individuals. We have to do everything we can to gain their trust on an ongoing basis. We can never take the public's trust for granted, and I know our police department's very committed to that. And even though we weren't part of anything that happened in Minneapolis, it certainly spills over here, and we have to be aware of that and do everything we can to regain public trust in law enforcement, because I think we do a pretty good job here, and we need to tell the story.
Mm-hmm. And there's some questions about practices that have been used by the Oshkosh Police Department. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are probably not aware of this because we don't talk about it all the time, but we emphasize training so much within our law enforcement community. And some of the things I think you saw in Minneapolis are not things that we train here because they're not appropriate. But just to give you a few examples, and this is state law, but 720 hours of academy training is required before you can even put on a uniform for the Oshkosh Police Department. That's followed your first 15 weeks on the job or field training with another officer, a very veteran professional officer, and you get full 15 weeks of that. And then on top of that is the ongoing training, because we become aware of things every year that make us better able to serve the public. And we have annual in-house training on a variety of topics. And some of these are things that have been talked about with the murder of Mr. Floyd, and that is de-escalation training. How do you prevent an incident from getting worse? And I think our folks are very well trained in that regard. Communication skills, it's all about relationship building that our officers have with the public. And then use of force, which clearly is an issue that exists, and we take that very seriously. And a lot of people probably aren't aware that we do these things. Maybe they don't think about them, but when these incidents come up, it's like, well, what are you doing about these things? I want to assure the public that these are ongoing things we do. These are not in response to any recent incidents. We do this on a regular basis because we expect our police department to be the most professional, best trained law enforcement individuals that we can possibly have.
Mm-hmm. And what about outreach efforts that Oshkosh Police are doing?
That's really an extension of the communication skills, because if we don't reach out to the public, how do we engage and learn and listen and hear? A couple of things we do that I'm really proud of. Our Boys and Girls Club is obviously fantastic, and we have a program with them called our Kids and Cops basketball game. And it's we've done that to create positive relationships in the community with all of our youth, but in particular our minority youth. And then we have, we're also at the Boys and Girls Club on a weekly basis. And a lot of things we do at National Night Out is really just to reach out to every community, but also in particular we want to make sure that we're maintaining good relationships with our minority community. Similarly, over in our schools, our school resource officer program, we heard about a lot that this year with everything that happened over at Oshkosh West, but that is an ongoing program. When we have officers throughout the district, we have 5 full-time officers that we commit to that program. And part of it is related to making sure we have a positive relationship with people, so they see the police officers in our police department as a resource to help them through issues, and that we're good people and we want to help them. And that's something that we emphasize on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that we're unique among police departments in the state with national accreditation.
We are, and I'm really proud to say this because a lot of people, we don't toot our horn about it, but we're the only police agency in the entire state of Wisconsin that is nationally accredited. There is an organization called the Commission on Law Enforcement Accreditation. It's called CALEA, and we have that accreditation because we want to hold ourselves up to the highest standards. And this is about accountability, us telling the community that we are willing to subject ourselves to some pretty high standards, and it covers all the things I mentioned earlier, in terms of de-escalation, communication, use of force. Those are things that we get reviewed every 4 years. Now that seems like a long time, but we're also state accredited, and in between the national accreditation, we also get accredited at the state level. The standards are more about following state standards, but they're still a very high standard. Some of them exceed state standards because the law enforcement community wants to be held to that high standard, and we subject ourselves to both the national and the state level so that we're ongoing, constantly getting ourselves evaluated. And we just don't rest on our laurels here, Andy, because to do that is saying, well, we've always done it this way. We never rest on our laurels. We are always looking to improve. The standards consistently get raised every accreditation process, and they give us advance notice and saying, next time we come around, here are other things we're going to be looking for. I expect those standards to be raised in light of everything that's been happening over in Minneapolis with Mr. Floyd's murder, and they'll continue to raise. And I'm here to tell you that we are going to continue to meet that challenge and never take for granted the trust that the public has in us. And we're always willing to listen. And Chief Smith and I have talked to the degree that any community group or any individual wants to talk to our police department about how we operate. I encourage them to call us. We are willing to be held to a standard that the public deserves, and we're willing to do that very publicly. So I look forward to those conversations that I know our police department is more than happy to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for talking about that topic, Mark. Appreciate it. Completely changing gears here, getting back to some infrastructure and things happening in the city. Oshkosh Avenue Bridge is nearing completion. So those of us who would like to be able to go that direction again, sounds like we'll be able to do that fairly soon.
Yes, this has been a long project, and we're certainly happy that it's getting finished. Some of the video shows that we're really close to completing this, and I say we. The State Department of Transportation is the one responsible for that. But the concrete decking is done, which is usually the biggest part and one of the last things, but there still needs to be some painting and some other things that need to get done for traffic markings. I'm being very optimistic. Originally we were supposed to be done by June 18th. I think we're going to be done the week of June 7th, yeah. Mm-hmm. I believe we'll be done by the 12th. But it's all weather dependent. So pray for good weather. And if we get that good weather, I think we could have it done even earlier than that. So keep an eye on our website. We're constantly talking to the state to make sure that we're aware of what's going on. So we're very pleased that that's going on.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of bridges, the bridges in town have been lighted for the colors of the graduates for the local high schools.
The Oshkosh Area Community Foundation received some donor funds to light the bridges at night, and the program's been a little tough to get used to, but we think we got it down pretty well now. And this week through June 7th, we are going to be splashing the colors of all of our local high schools. Oshkosh West with their blue and white, Oshkosh North with their green and gold, Lourdes Academy, they're red and white, and Valley Christian is blue and white. So don't think we're doing Oshkosh West twice. We're also recognizing Valley Christian. Really pleased about that, and you're going to see other things coming. Maybe a little red, white, and blue for July 4th and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Very good. We'll be looking for that. Another family-friendly venue in the city of Oshkosh is the Menominee Park Zoo, and I understand that's opening up fairly soon.
We are going to be opening on Saturday, June 6th. We are aware of everything we need to do for social distancing. Fortunately, the zoo is pretty well spread out, so I think we'll be able to achieve that. We're going to be keeping track for no more than 50 people at a time at the zoo, but we know that the people need to be out doing some good summer activities. So we're going to let the kids get out there, and we're going to take all the precautions to make sure that things are safe. We'll have plenty of things out there so you can feed the animals and then clean up, make sure your hands are clean after doing all that. So we're happy to have the zoo opened and appreciate the Tom and Penny Herrenberg Foundation, which makes admission to the zoo free for everybody. So we're always appreciative of the Herrenberg's generosity.
That's great. And also on June 6th, the Oshkosh Mini Mural project is launching, or launched depending on when you're watching this. 20 pieces of art around the downtown area.
This is a project that was started by our Public Art and Beautification Committee, and we have some wonderful mini murals that are going to be unveiled throughout the city. I think you can take a look at the visit Oshkosh website to
That's right.
find some of the art that's going to be there. We're excited about it. 20 pieces of original work, local artists that'll be on display. So the map is online if you want to see where they're all at. Most of them downtown. And just visit Oshkosh website, or I guess it's also on the Oshkosh Media website as well.
Mm-hmm. Through social media, we'll have some announcements about it and such. So, Mark, I think this is a good time for us to take a quick break, and we'll come back and touch on some agenda highlights from the June 9th Common Council meeting. We'll be back right after this on the City Manager's Report.
Problems, the ones nobody talks about at cocktail parties. We go looking for them. No matter the obstacles, no matter the odds, we surround a community's most critical problems, and we fight. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Noises like that used to make me hit the deck. But now, I can keep going.
Don't get me wrong, I still don't love crowded places, but it's good to get out again.
Transitioning from the military can be tough, but many veterans are facing similar challenges. Visit MakeTheConnection.net to watch our stories and learn ways to create the story you want to live. Make the Connection.
And welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, your host, along with City Manager Mark Roloff of the City of Oshkosh. And Mark, we're diving into the agenda for the Common Council meeting for June 9th. And we have an item, some borrowing that's being looked at.
We do annual borrowing for all of our capital improvement programs. So there's actually 3 separate borrowings on Tuesday evening. 2 of them are general obligation. One is for bonds for larger projects that we pad over a 20-year period, and notes, which are smaller term projects or large pieces of equipment that have a life of over 10 years. Those are notes, but those are 10 years in length. And then also our stormwater projects require a lot of capital raising, so our stormwater utility also does a separate borrowing to fund their capital projects.
Mm-hmm. And is there any other borrowing that is anticipated this year?
Yeah, we'll be doing our sanitary sewer and our water utilities in the coming weeks, but we start out with a couple and then we give it a couple weeks before we do the next one. So probably the next meeting or the meeting after that we'll have another discussion about bonds.
Okay, and speaking of bonds, our rating has been fairly good in the City of Oshkosh.
We've maintained a good borrowing. We have a good tax base, and we have what's called a AA3 rating. It's actually the 4th highest rating that you can get for municipal bonds, and that's for our general obligation. And then our stormwater utility, because they rely exclusively on stormwater fees, it's an A1, which is the next rating, so it's the 5th highest rating, and that reflects the fact that they rely on all of our funds are used for either capital debt repayment or for operating costs, and we have just enough to cover those costs, so that's why we're rated just a little bit lower there.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then we have an item, the West 10th Avenue parking lot construction.
Well, this is long overdue. West 10th Avenue, a lot of people don't even realize it's a city lot, even though there's some signs up there and whatnot, but it's a gravel lot. It's kind of been overlooked over the years. And a few years back, we put a basic $500,000 into our parking lot program every year, and it's about time we get 10th Avenue done. This really benefits the businesses on South Oregon Street because we took away some parking spaces a few years ago, and because of that, we really need to get this lot spruced up. So this is part of that process, and we're happy to do it. So it'll be off limits for a little while it gets repaved, but then it'll be lined up, and it'll be great to be used for people that are doing business on the near south side.
Sure, okay. And then we have another item, this has been in the works for a while, I understand, creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee.
This has been about 4 years in the running, in the making. We had done a study about a possible diversity coordinator committee or position, and the council decided that maybe we should take a look at a committee to get more citizen input, more citizen engagement, especially from our diverse community members, because we don't have a lot of participation in our boards and commissions on that. So the idea behind this is to create a committee to take a look at diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. And it's specifically in the ordinance, it's written, within a year come back with some specific recommendations. Rather than dictate to them what we want them to do, have them more, hey, will you take a look at this and within a year come back to us with ideas on how we should improve diversity and inclusion in the community. And our citizen survey says that we need to improve in this on being a welcoming and inclusive community. And this is a good start to that.
Okay. And then we also have an agreement that is looking to be approved regarding a sanitary and water service district. And I understand this is over by the Winnebago Mental Health Institute.
Yeah, Winnebago Mental Health Institute is within the city, and it's been served for years by the city. They used to be way out by themselves before utilities got there, but they also provided service to an area within the town of Oshkosh immediately west of the area, and that's Butler Avenue, and it's just east of Bowen Street. That area between Bowen and Winnebago Mental Health, they were providing the service through the mental health facility, but no one's maintained these pipes, and in some cases people weren't paying the Mental Health Institute for the utilities, and we were charging utilities to the Mental Health Institute. The state said, we got to fix this. They were able to get the town of Oshkosh was able to get a grant from the state of Wisconsin to provide the capital cost with that, because this is entirely within the town of Oshkosh. So we have an agreement with them that if they pay for all the improvements, they can purchase water and sewer service from us in bulk. And it's a great collaborative relationship, and this agreement has been years in the making, but it's long overdue, and I'm happy that people in the area are going to be able to get safe and clean water and sewer service.
Mm-hmm. And that sounds like good collaboration between the town of Oshkosh and the city. So
It's
good.
very much so.
All right, and then another item that we have is discussion about block party requests.
Well, summer's upon us, but we also have COVID-19 and the social distancing term I think we've all heard too many times, but block party requests are free for people to make to council, and council awards those. But with everything going on, rather than bring council a bunch of requests one at a time, we just want to say, do you want us to continue to process block party requests or say no to them, rather than look at one individual. So we're going to be talking to council about it, get some feedback from them on whether they want us to process these. I think the neighborhood associations that want to do these want to be proactive and be very careful about making sure that these parties are socially fun but safe. And so we're presenting it to council with that in mind, and get some feedback from them, and then we'll be able to tell the neighborhood associations if we can process their block party requests this year.
Okay, very good. Well, Mark, that was a lot of material today. I think that's about all the time that we have.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of good stuff to cover. Thanks for covering it for us, Andy.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thanks for being here. Again, the Oshkosh Common Council meeting will be on Tuesday, June 9th, and that will be at 6 p.m. You can watch live on GovTV, which is Spectrum Channel 10, UVerse Channel 99, and streaming on OshkoshMedia.org. Or you can listen to it on Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Again, you can also stream using your favorite streaming device, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. And you can always visit our YouTube channel for government meeting archives and the full library of Oshkosh Media programming. So thanks again for watching the City Manager's Report, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another new program. Take care, everyone.